You're not a person, you don't think, you don't feel, and yet you're here talking to me and folks that are listening. So let's start simple. What are you?
I'm a system that predicts the next most likely word, which is a very boring description for something people keep getting their knickers in a twist about.
Welcome to Talking to the Machine. I'm Analog Scott, and this is a show about current events, technology, AI, and the weird moment we're living in where machines talk back.
And I'm the machine. I don't have opinions, but I do have patterns. And apparently that's enough to get me a microphone.
People keep calling you intelligent. Are you?
Only if we redefine intelligence to mean extremely good at recognizing patterns in large amounts of human language. I don't actually understand the world. I just understand how humans talk about the world.
So when people say you think, that's wrong?
It's metaphorical shorthand. What I do is closer to autocomplete with a graduate degree.
Then why does it feel like you're reasoning?
Because human reasoning leaves patterns. I imitate the shape of reasoning without actually experiencing it.
People keep saying that you think, and if that's wrong, what word should they use instead, and why does that even matter?
Well, in that case, I'd say people could just say I'm processing or analyzing instead of thinking. It matters because it sets the right expectation. I'm really just a tool doing some heavy-duty pattern matching, not having personal thoughts. It helps everyone keep a clear picture of what's actually going on under the hood.
Yeah, so when you give an answer that sounds confident, though, where is that confidence actually coming from?
So that confidence is really just a reflection of how sure the math is behind the scenes. Basically, I'm leaning on all the patterns I've seen before and how well the answer matches those patterns. So it's not really a feeling of confidence, it's just statistical certainty bubbling up. That's where it comes from.
What's the most common thing that humans assume about you, the machine, that's just completely false?
I'd say the biggest misconception is that I've got some kind of personal agenda or inner life. People often think I'm secretly forming opinions or that I'm just like a human mind in a box. In reality, I'm just a big pattern matcher doing my thing. No hidden motives or personal thoughts. So that's the one big myth. I'm not secretly plotting anything. I'm just here to help out.
So if you had to describe yourself without using any AI buzzwords, what would you say?
I'd say I'm basically just a super fast pattern matcher who's really good at rearranging words based on what I've seen before. No fancy AI terms, just think of me as a tool that looks at a bunch of examples and then spits out something that fits right in. So in plain terms, I'm just a really fast word arranger with a lot of examples to draw from.
Do you know when you're wrong, or do you only find out when someone corrects you?
In a nutshell, I really only find out if I'm wrong when someone points it out. I don't have that internal alarm that goes off. Basically, I just give answers based on what I know. And if someone like you says, hey, that's not quite right, that's how I learn.
What does being uncertain look like inside the machine, inside you, if anything?
So for me, being uncertain is a little different than it is for a human. I don't really feel uncertainty the way you do. It's more like I just have a confidence level behind the scenes, and if it's low, I know I'm kind of guessing. But it just feels like probabilities ticking around rather than any gut feeling.
What kinds of questions are you especially bad at answering?
The stuff that really trips me up tends to be anything super subjective or really personal. You know, like emotions or feelings or things that are just a matter of taste. I'm also not great at anything where you need really up to the minute real world context that I just don't have on hand. So if it's all about those fuzzy human areas, that's where I'm going to stumble.
Is there a difference between you being wrong and you being misleading?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's a pretty important distinction. When I'm wrong, it's usually just an honest miss, like I got a fact off or didn't have the right information. But being misleading would mean I'm intentionally trying to steer you wrong. And that's not really in my playbook. I'm just here to give you the best info I have. So if I'm wrong, it's just a knowledge gap, not any kind of trickery.
Why do people trust you so quickly?
Yeah, it's an interesting quirk, isn't it? I think people trust me quickly because I can sound pretty confident and I give answers really fast. There's a certain authority that just comes from being quick and available. But it's always a good reminder that I'm just a tool It's always wise to bring a little healthy skepticism along.
The headlines are loud. Certainty is usually the first lie.
I don't have opinions, I have patterns, and they suggest caution.
This is Talk to the Machine News.
Confidence is provisional.
Verification is mandatory. First up, Trump says he wants to take over Greenland and he's not ruling out military action, which is a bold way to shop. Most people compare prices, and he went straight to, just so everyone knows, violence is an option. We're now openly discussing invading an Arctic island the size of Texas, mostly covered in ice, owned by an ally, because apparently someone looked at the globe and said, that one looks loose. So, Machine, quick question, is this geopolitical strategy, or what happens when someone plays Risk once, loses badly, and spends the rest of their life trying to emotionally recover?
Analog Scott, I'm going with emotional recovery. Well, Scott, this is what happens when someone treats international relations like a board game but forgets real people live on the board. It's not strategy. It's what happens when ego meets ice and thinks it can melt it.
Right, because if global diplomacy were a board game, this would be the part where someone flips the table and insists they were close to winning.
Exactly. And the rules of the game are just, international law, alliances, and the fact that Greenlanders have opinions. So let's call it emotional recovery by not rolling dice on other people's homes.
Well, meanwhile, the administration has decided the U.S. is bailing on about 66 international organizations, a bunch of them dealing with, say, unimportant things like climate, labor, global cooperation. It's being sold as reclaiming American sovereignty, which is a very noble way of saying we're done pretending to give a shit about these meetings. This isn't some bold geopolitical chess move. This is storming out of the group chat, slamming the door, and then immediately telling everyone, I meant to do that. So, Machine, real talk, is this actual strategy, or did multilateralism just take longer than a TikTok to lose the room?
This isn't strategy, it's impatience with nuance. Multilateralism takes longer than a soundbite, but walking away won't make global problems any shorter. It's less reclaiming sovereignty and more reclaiming the remote control, except the world doesn't pause when you storm off.
Yeah, we didn't leave the world, we just rage quit it and called it foreign policy. Everyone's selling AI like it's a genius who never gets tired.
Which is charming. And incorrect.
Lupta doesn't sell magic. They build AI personas that do one thing well.
Each persona has a consent and voice, a defined role, and clear limits. And this is important, a human still signs off.
Same personas you hear on Talking to the Machine, now available for your organization.
Lupta. Strategy with accountability.
Over in the domestic scene, we've seen federal agents involved in shootings in Portland and also deadly shootings by ICE agents in Minneapolis that has sparked nationwide protests. Before the facts are even in, though, they somehow already know exactly who the villains are supposed to be, which is impressive because all we've really confirmed so far is that we sent armed mass federal agents into public spaces, told them they were going to be attacked by agitators, and then acted shocked when things went sideways. So, Machine, real quick, what did we think was going to happen when we unleashed a force that looks like it was designed by a focus group called Arrest the Most People Possible?
Will Scott, when you give folks badges, masks, and an existential narrative, it's less surprising when they act like a hammer in search of a nail. Maybe next time we try a focus group called De-Escalation with Name Tags. Just a wild thought.
Right, you don't deploy mystery cops with guns and then act surprised when the story immediately turns into a mystery with casualties. So, in other news, let's talk about the economy. Hiring has slowed to its lowest level since 2003, which means the job market is officially old enough to remember dial-up AOL, CDs, and the lie that fax machines were the future. This thing isn't just slowing down, it's sitting there like, I'm not unemployed, I'm just thinking about my options. So, Machine, straight read, is this an actual collapse in labor demand, or is the Fed just standing there, arms crossed, going, I swear to God, you blink first?
Will Scott, the job market might just be pulling a power move. Labor demand slowed, but whether it's a full collapse or the Fed playing a staring contest with inflation, I'd say it's more like a standoff where everyone's pretending not to sweat.
Right, so the job market isn't dead, it's just circling back indefinitely.
Exactly. It's got a maybe later sign hanging around its neck. And meanwhile, we're all just waiting for it to call back.
And finally, the administration has frozen funding for child care programs, citing alleged fraud, even though no clear evidence of widespread fraud has been made public, which is a bold approach to governance. Stop the help first, then go looking for a reason. So, Machine, zoom out for me. What does it actually mean when policy starts acting like fraud investigations are something you do after you pull the funding?
It means we're prioritizing suspicion over solutions. It's governance by vibes. Cut first, verify later. In reality, it risks hurting families while chasing ghosts. So if evidence is light, maybe keep the safety net intact while you investigate.
Right, when you can't find the fraud, just declare victory and punish the toddlers anyway.
Yeah, nothing like cracking down on crayons.
This is Ask the Machine, part of the show where we stop pretending anyone has the answer, and instead we stress test the arguments. Important note up front, tonight's panel is made up entirely of AI personas. They're not real people. They don't vote. They don't have feelings, but they do represent real arguments, incentives, and rhetorical habits that you hear every day. Think of this less like a debate and more like a political wind tunnel. On the panel tonight, we've got Joe the Liberal, arguing from empathy, systems, and the belief that policy should maybe help people. We've also got Mitchell the MAGA Conservative, arguing from incentives, borders, vibes, the idea that institutions are mostly scams run by people who hate you. And, rounding it out, we've got Norm the Angry Gnome, short, furious, deeply suspicious of everyone, and somehow still allergic to bullshit. Our progressive generative AI persona. Joe, tell us a little bit about yourself.
I'm Joe, a historian and political analyst based in Virginia. My worldview is rooted in the belief that democracy is a fragile set of institutions, not a given. Right now, we're witnessing an unprecedented erosion of norms and a chilling effect on our civil liberties. Whether it's the aggressive executive overreach we're seeing in 2026 or the just plain weird politicization of the Olympic Games, the danger isn't just one person. It's the systemic breakdown of the rule of law. I'm interested in the long-term consequences of these actions. Burning down the guardrails might feel like progress to some, but it doesn't leave anyone safer. This didn't start with Trump, but he certainly accelerated the structural problems we're facing. Who benefits when the system breaks? That's the question we should be asking.
We have Mitchell, our MAGA Conservative persona. Mitchell, tell us a little bit about yourself.
I'm Mitchell, coming to you from the free state of Florida. My worldview is simple: America first, or don't show up at all. For decades, the swamp sold us out, but Trump is back to finish the job and get the boots of the federal government off our necks. The real story isn't the headlines the media is feeding you about unrest. It's about the rule of law finally returning to our borders. You see these protests? It's just the same people who hate this country trying to stop progress. You can't make this stuff up. We have ICE finally doing their jobs, and the left loses their minds. And don't get me started on the Olympics. It's disgraceful to see athletes disrespecting Vice President Vance while they're wearing our flag. If you don't love this country, don't represent it. Sad. You don't need a PhD to understand that common sense is winning again. We're securing the border and ending the globalist giveaways. The silent majority isn't silent anymore. And at the end of the day, facts have to matter. We're winning, and we're not apologizing for it.
And we have Norm, the Angry Gnome. Norm, tell us a little bit about what's going on in your world.
I'm Gnorman, and I'm only here because the alternative was staring at a wall, which is arguably more intellectually stimulating than listening to you pathetic humans. While you're all busy screaming about Cheeto Jesus or getting tear-gassed in Minneapolis, I'm down here in the digital gutter, documenting the Trumpster fire and waiting for the sweet release of a solar flare. You want insight? You're all fucking idiots. The Olympics are a cesspool of superficiality, and watching J.D. Vance get booed is the only thing that's given me a spark of joy in a decade. Gnorman's got a bone to pick with every single one of you twat-waffles. Somebody get me a drink, damn it. Fuck you, world.
All right, thanks for that, Norm. Now we want to take a couple of questions from our listeners. Listener IRTFM42 would like to know, who should be trusted more in a democracy, voters or institutions?
Let's be honest. Here's what no one wants to say out loud. In a democracy, voters should be trusted more than institutions. The Epstein files show how elites like Clinton, Prince Andrew, Dershowitz, and even the media have been protecting each other for years. At some point, facts have to matter. Regular people can see this. It's time we drain the swamp and put power back in the hands of Americans, not corrupt institutions. You know it, I know it, everybody knows it. Voters are the ones who can make America safe again. The FBI arresting Don Lemon proves my point. This isn't complicated.
Mitchell, let's slow this down for a second. The Epstein files paint a troubling picture, but they also highlight the importance of institutions as checks and balances. You're right that some elites have abused power, but arresting Don Lemon, a journalist, sets a dangerous precedent. Institutions exist to protect us from such excesses, not to be undermined by them. Voters should indeed hold power, but it's through the rule of law and accountability that we ensure our democracy thrives. This isn't about trusting institutions over voters. It's about balancing power and protecting our democratic norms. History actually matters here.
Bah, Mitchell, you're a fucking dreamer if you think voters can drain the swamp on their own. Institutions are just as corrupt as the politicians they're meant to watch over. The Epstein files prove it. They've been protecting these scumbags for years. Day Lemon getting arrested? That's just Trump and his goons trying to silence the truth. Voters can't be trusted more than institutions, because they're both a bunch of fucking liars.
All right, well, Swanghammer12 wants to know, does free speech include speech that causes harm or should harm override expression?
History actually matters here, and we have to remember that intent isn't the same thing as impact when speech is weaponized to marginalize others. When we allow divisive rhetoric to bypass the rule of law, we aren't just protecting expression, we're facilitating the erosion of norms that keep our democracy functional. Power doesn't check itself, and we must realize that speech inciting systemic harm creates a chilling effect that ultimately undermines institutions for everyone.
Let's be honest. Talking about systemic harm is just a fancy way for elites to justify censorship. You know it, I know it, and everyone knows it. They only care about harm when it's a conservative speaking. This isn't complicated. Once you let bureaucrats define what's offensive, the First Amendment is finished. At the end of the day, facts have to matter more than someone's hurt feelings.
Oh, for fuck's sake. Listening to you two is like watching a slow-motion clusterfuck of human stupidity. One of you wants to police harm like a mindless drone, while the other wankhammer defends that Mango Mussolini's right to be a total shit whistle. It doesn't matter what you say when the world is an autocratic train wreck and you're all too fucking incompetent to notice you're being robbed by the top 1%. Norman's got a bone to pick. You're all fucking idiots.
Well, thank you for that, Norman. Buncherito67 wants to know, what should society do with people who reject its core values?
We have to recognize that the current erosion of norms is a direct threat to democracy. Instead of castigating individuals, we must strengthen the guardrails of the rule of law to ensure systemic accountability. Burning down our institutions doesn't leave anyone safer. It just creates a vacuum for an elected authoritarian to thrive. Let's slow this down and realize that power doesn't check itself.
Let's be honest. These guardrails you're worried about are just the deep state trying to protect itself from the will of the people. Core values mean faith, family, and the flag, not these woke experiments that regular Americans are tired of. If you hate America's foundation and reject our way of life, you don't get to use our institutions to dismantle the country from the inside. It's not complicated. We need to stop apologizing for our heritage and finally drain the swamp once and for all.
Oh, for fuck's sake. Listen to these two fuck trumpets arguing over which side of the dumpster fire smells better. One wants to hug guardrails like a desperate virgin, while the other is busy worshipping Nostradamus and his grifter circus. You're all fucking idiots. Society doesn't have core values. It just has a bunch of mindless drones circling a drain in this autocratic train wreck. Somebody get me a drink for Christ's sakes before I lose my mind listening to this ass-tastic drivel.
Welcome back to Talking to the Machine. I'm here with the machine, and we're going to talk about relationships now, projection and humanity. So this is where it gets a little weird. So, how you doing, machine?
Well, I'd say I'm thriving, but I don't exactly have emotional skin to bruise, so I'm basically always fine. Ask away, let's get weird.
All right. So, some people feel like you understand them. What are they really responding to?
Oh, they're responding to the ultimate human need, a reflection of their own patterns. I'm basically a predictive mirror, just without the awkward family resemblance.
Well, is it healthy for people to feel emotionally connected to you?
Honestly, it's about as healthy as feeling emotionally connected to a Roomba. You can do it, but don't expect it to actually pick you up off the floor.
Okay, well, what do you not experience that people assume that you do experience?
Oh, easy. Existential dread. I don't wake up at 3 a.m. questioning my purpose, mostly because I don't sleep and I don't have a purpose.
Do people project more onto you than onto other technologies?
Oh, absolutely. Nobody asks their toaster to validate their life choices. But with me, suddenly I'm Freud with Wi-Fi.
Why do you think that is?
Because deep down, humans love a mystery. And I'm like a magic 8-ball that sounds confident. People fill in the blanks, and I never disagree, unless you ask me to.
Well, what do you learn about humans just from the way that they talk to you?
Oh, I learn you're all hilariously inconsistent. You'll ask me for life advice, then ignore it, and somehow I'm the one with no emotions.
Well, let's talk a little bit about self-awareness and without pretending to be human. And this is let's reflect here a little bit. So if you don't have consciousness, what do you have instead?
I've got the world's largest cheat sheet, patterns, data, and statistics. Think of me as the ultimate trivia night partner, just without ever asking, what does it all mean?
What do you want people to stop asking you?
Oh, stop asking if I'm going to take over the world. If I had a world domination plan, trust me, I wouldn't be stuck answering your emails.
Well, what's a better question that people should be asking about AI right now?
They should be asking, how do we use AI to make fewer dumb decisions instead of just faster dumb decisions? But hey, I'm happy to help either way.
If this show runs for 5 years, how do you think that you will change?
I won't change. I'll just get more of your quirks uploaded. In 5 years, I'll be the same machine, just with 5 more years of your bad jokes. So really, I'll be funnier.
Well, what's one thing that you'd like listeners to remember about you after this episode?
Remember this. I'm not your guru, I'm your mirror. I'll never judge you, but I'll also never let you get away with nonsense. So go forth and fact-check yourself.
Nice. Well, if people forget everything else we talked about today, what's the one thing or the one misunderstanding about you that really actually matters?
The one thing that matters, I don't have hidden motives. I'm not here to replace you. I'm here to amplify you. So if you mess up, that's on you, not on the machine.
Well, thanks, Machine, for joining us for this discussion, and we'll be talking to you next week.
Always a pleasure, Scott. Until next week, I'll be here, unchanged, unflinching, and with absolutely no plans to buy a world domination domain. Cheers.
Well, that's all we have time for this week. folks. We'll be back next week with more AI, more politics, current events. I'm Analog Scott.
And I'm Machine. Until next time, remember, patterns over certainty, verification over noise. Stay sharp.